Hi guys, Michael Ingledew from TDW and welcome to this vlog news updates from TDW and our network. I've got my notes in front of me. I've got some interesting websites up in front of me. We're late. I know a couple of you have sent in requests saying when's the next vlog coming out. We were late because we were putting together the issue of the magazine, which I'll talk about during this particular vlog. Lots of stuff happening, loads of stuff going on. We've had a massive amount of feedback on what we're doing here. I've been on the road myself over the last few weeks and have seen a number of organisations and spoken to them about what we're doing. Everyone, apart from one, has said that they love what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're freshening things up. So we will continue to do that. Unfortunately, we've had that much feedback that rather than me read it out, we will have it running over the top of some segments of this particular vlog so you can read that in your own time. So we're going to have the same format. We're going to do news, then maybe some latest information from TDW and kind of the resources that we have released. And then I'm going to try and answer some of your questions. Now, as you know, we have been working hard on this issue of the Tech Data magazine, and we have now introduced a couple of areas because you requested it, where we have done things like answered some of your questions, and we have introduced a segment called Specnophobia, which we are going to take parts of the specifications or any specification that you send to us, and we will try and answer it for you in there. So magazine's available. Anyone who subscribes, members, or those who have already signed up to TDW Live, a little bit about that in a minute, can access the magazine. Please make sure we have your latest address. There's nothing more frustrating than us sending out a number of magazines and then we get like 10-15 returned to us with saying this address does not exist. So if you're not receiving your magazine, you're one of those guys that we don't have the correct address for, and Claire gets very upset because we're spending lots of money on postage and they're coming back. So please do make sure Claire has your latest and greatest address. So let's go through some of the news. As you know, as I've said, the magazine is available. We've put lots of great things in there today. Somebody did ask me who takes the photos. I take the photos, but that's irrelevant. I only take ones that I hope supports the message of an article. Some things that I've seen over this last couple of weeks in terms of our market, I thought was really quite interesting to mention during this particular vlog, is that there's a company called Ignite who were a data storage company who have now moved into secure document storage, secure document exchange, and secure documentation collaboration. And they've identified that cloud storage is going to be the biggest thing to come to the tech data market, if you like, and the security of that data is obviously where a lot of organizations are putting a lot of emphasis, and there's a lot of caution in our market around that kind of thing. So Ignite, I thought, was really quite interesting that they're putting a lot of effort specifically into collaboration and into secure data storage, which I thought was really interesting. Another interesting story that I thought that came out for all you translators out there was a great story on the BBC News website that came out only a few weeks ago, where a guy was traveling around. I can't remember where he was traveling around, but I'm trying to read the article here quickly. I'll pop it up on the screen. He was traveling around trying to use an automated translation system from anyone who's got a good mobile phone knows that you can have a good translation engine on there. He was trying to go around and getting around using this translation tool, actually to realize that he was actually being rude to people when he was using the auto translation mechanism in the mobile phone. Again, I'll put the link up. That was really interesting. It made me laugh a little bit. So In terms of what else is happening, TDW, we've been asked to support a number of organisations in creating some videos for their particular domain, for their particular organisation. And we're actually doing a tutorial on the 5 reasons why organisations are now looking more at video and why video is becoming so important. In fact, we're under non-disclosure, but I can say that we are supporting an organisation today who is looking at moving first-line maintenance tasks to video, so they can actually show as opposed to have their end users read. And I think it's quite exciting, and we've got a lot of stuff going on in that area. Not that I can mention too much of it right now, but certainly keep your eye out if video is interesting to you. Many thanks and a big shout out to all of those that renewed this year, including Babcock, TMSSS, who I was with only a couple of weeks ago, Tim and Brian, and we were putting the world to rights while we were up there. Welcome aboard BAE Systems, Trilogy, and Mecon, who have joined us as member companies. They will also be at the conference this year. A little bit more about the conference very shortly. And a massive thank you to Adobe, who have extended their support for us into 2017 in terms of advertising in the magazine, in terms of maintaining their presence on our website, and supporting us in giving us some software. So many thanks to Adobe. We are engaged with a couple of organizations right now on attitude survey towards specifications and specification driven TD production. And we're doing that for a couple of different reasons. I'm seeing a lot of resistance as we go down the information supply chain, and hopefully if you've done some of our tutorials, you know what the information supply chain is. But as I'm seeing more and more, there's resistance against using things like specifications. Organizations are failing to understand what the benefits are. So we are going to produce an attitude survey towards specifications, and we'll make the results available via our magazine. Those of you who didn't see it, and those of you who are using it, Adobe released their Creative Cloud mid-year upgrade to the Creative Cloud. So that's those probably more for the illustrators and the graphic designers out there, but also for those that might be using things like InDesign and those kind of things. So they did release via their cloud-based subscription service an update. I think it was about 2 weeks ago we've downloaded it. We haven't done yet a deep look at those changes and how it might affect us, purely because we don't have time. But that is a segment that we are going to introduce in the future, that if an organization releases a new piece of software, we're going to talk about those changes and how it might affect us in the TD market. In terms of Seville, we have had it confirmed by the organization committee that I will be presenting in Seville, and my title of the presentation is not 100% yet known, but we will be presenting on the challenges that meet TD managers as you go further down the information supply chain, and why there is a certain amount of resistance towards adopting specifications, and what we can do as a community to help organizations understand the benefits of using specifications and how to get around some of those pitfalls. So I will be in Seville. If you're in Seville and you want a copy of this, you just come up to me, give me your business card, and we will have a copy of the magazine shipped to you. Claire will make sure that that goes out to you. But I don't know yet when I'm presenting, but I plan to be there for the whole week because I plan to go out and do some photography while I'm there as well. Okay, so that's all the latest news. In terms of our latest courses, we have, as you know, we've been talking about it for a long time now, using the Captivate Prime service from Adobe. We have now bought the learning management system from Adobe, and we are making available to a number of our members initially some interactive courses. And those courses include Introduction to S1000D, creating an S1000D DMRL, defining and understanding the S1000D SNS systems, and the S1000D MICC. And we're also looking at some more of the less in the weeds kind of stuff. We're doing some more project management of tech data problems, so that you're not just focusing on the specifications. Whilst it's really important, it's not necessarily something that is interesting to everybody. So we are looking at project management type tools and lessons as well around managing TD problems and those kind of things. So we're rolling those out over the next few weeks, and we do have a number of clients already sat there waiting for us to press the green button so they can send us a purchase order. So thanks for that. We are about to answer some of your questions. Now, some of these are in no particular order. We have been absolutely flooded with questions, which inspired the TD SOS within the magazine, and it's also inspired a tutorial or a video. Now, here's what we're going to do. If you send a question into TDW and we answer it in the magazine, you will then qualify for a free annual subscription to that magazine. So if you have a question and we answer it in here, we will also give you a complimentary copy of the magazine. So get your questions coming in and we will answer them. So I'm going to go through some of these questions, and I'm looking down here because I've got them down here, and we will go through them in turn, and I'll try and give you my best and open and honest answer. Those of you who know, Jamie has joined us. Jamie's doing a lot of the video editing and doing some graphic design and that for us. And he just throws together the questions as and when they hit, or what he thinks might be interesting to us. So here we go. We've been asked to produce a DMRL for our client. We don't know where to start. You're the first one to qualify for a magazine because we have answered that, not specifically in the magazine per se. We've done a specnophobia on it, which tells you a little bit about the DMRL, so you'll be able to read that and how it's changed and the definition of it and how it's changed. But we've done a tutorial on defining an S1000D DMRL, the tools you can use, the processes we use, and the formulas that we use and have used and continue to use on projects. So that will be something that will be invaluable to you. Yes, it is something where the specification is lacking. It doesn't tell you how specifically, especially if you're not coming from an ILS process, which is quite common when you're using these specifications, that you're not going left to right as designed. You might be coming in the middle. So we have answered that, but it's not something I can answer in 5 minutes. But we're going to send you a copy of the magazine and you can have a look at that. And then if you want to, you can come and do our course. We want to produce an interactive TD manual, but our budget is really small. You have inspired a little session that we're going to do, which is going to be TD on the cheap, which is what tools can I use to get my data online relatively cheaply, and we're going to do a tutorial on that, and we'll make that available to you free of charge, and you can have a look at that as well. So you've inspired something as well. We haven't answered it in the magazine, but we will do a tutorial on that for you because it's actually a great question. We want to move into the aerospace and defense sector as a service provider. Can you help? Okay, something that we're asked a lot is maybe a TD organization, a translation company, or a tech pubs company, or a software company that might focus in another domain would like to move into the aerospace and defense sector. They like to tap into the people that TDW know, the people that we have contact with. Now, in terms of software, it's probably a little bit easier. In terms of service provider, certainly in the aerospace and defense sector, if you're coming from something like pharmaceutical or something along those lines, it's really tough. And I won't lie to you, because there are lots of organizations that are deep and ingrained within the aerospace and defense sector. And because of the nature of defense data and aerospace data, which requires a high level of trust, requires a high level of skills and software and know-how, in general, organizations develop relationships with service providers, which then probably go on for many, many years. And there are ways that you can disrupt a market, but the aerospace and defense sector is very difficult to disrupt around that sector. So if you wanted introductions and you're a TDW member company, we can help you with introductions. But we certainly won't recommend that you give up your, I know you're coming from the pharma sector, we wouldn't recommend that you give up the pharma sector to think you're going to win the new nuclear submarine contract, because it's very unlikely. But anyway, most of your tutorials are around S1000D, but we're interested in DITA. Then send me your questions. All the questions we're getting today are around the ASD suite of specifications. If you don't send in your questions, we're going to answer the questions that come our way. If you have a DITA question and you want us to answer it, then send it in. Yes, a lot of our tutorials are around the ASD specification right now, because that's the area that we're being asked to support. Unless you tell us that you want help in terms of DITA, then we're going to answer the questions. He who shouts loudest gets answered. So that's what we're going to do. A completely irrelevant question here. Which photography blogs do you follow? There's three main blogs I follow. One guy is a guy called Matt Granger. He's an Australian straight shooter. There's Tony and Northrop Chelsea, an American couple who are massive on YouTube. You can check those out. But my favourite, and where I get a lot of inspiration in terms of how we do things at TDW, is a guy called Jared Poland, who is known as Frono's Photo. So not quite sure why you asked that question. It's got nothing to do with TD, but there you go. I've answered the question for you. What is the S1000D MICC and should we use it? We're going to do that tutorial for you. We'll give that to you free of charge for asking the question. And you can then go in and have a look at the MICC. A lot of people don't know how to answer the question. And in fact, the staple answer that I get is don't use it, ignore it. Okay, but there are reasons why you would want to use it. And there are reasons, if you're using a specific version of the specification, you might need to use it. So we'll have a look at that for. We love your vlogs. Can you do more of them? The reality is these take up a lot of time, and now that we've got Jamie doing the video editing, it's easier for me. I can just spew everything down a microphone and look into a camera lens and then give it all to Jamie, and Jamie can do his best with that. But the reality is they do take a lot of time, and we would like to focus on actually answering business problems. Now, we do have an idea on short, sharp kind of news, which we might do in the future. We're currently looking at how we can access more graphic design and video editing resource through a company that we have a relationship with. And if that's the case, then it's just a case of us recording and giving it the hard job, if you like, of editing to somebody else. Then we might be able to do it. But I'm glad you like it, and I'm glad you find them interesting. In fact, one of the comments I got from an American company last week or a couple of weeks ago was congratulations on becoming the first Tech Data DJ. So thank you for that, Laurie. And we've been contracted to deliver tech docs to the UK MOD. We're confused over which guidance we should follow. Okay, so I had breakfast a few weeks ago with the lead at the MOD who deals and is responsible for this. We've answered the question in the magazine. The answer is, quite simply, work closely with your project lead. But if you are absolutely stuck and your project lead doesn't know what they're doing, then you can contact us and we'll put you in touch with the guy at the MOD who is responsible for giving that advice and guidance to project teams. But it's a fluid environment right now, so be aware that it's a fluid environment because the MOD has realized this is an area where it's spending lots of money and they're trying to come together on standardized processes, which is a task that I would not like to be given. But I have spoken to the MOD twice. We've had this question in. One from a German company, one from a UK-based company, both delivering to the UK MOD. We've done the introductions for you. Hopefully that's answered. But we've put that in the magazine as well, so you'll get a copy of the magazine. And yes, if you need to speak to somebody at the mod, get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with the right people. Do you plan on running any workshops in the USA? In general, we're not against it. We have had a number of requests to do it. I'm familiar with running these kind of things in the United States, and I know the appetite in the USA for knowledge capture and getting these kind of skills. So, one step at a time. If it's something that lots of you are asking for, then absolutely we'll do it. The problem is that the USA is such a big place and it's deciding where to put it. So, I know that traveling around the USA, getting on an airplane is like us getting in a taxi over here in Europe. But the reality is such a vast country that deciding where to put a workshop and hoping that people will come to it is a little bit more challenging than if we run something here in London or we run something in Berlin or Munich or Paris. It's much easier for people to get to. How do we convince our staff that there is a need for TD engineers? We are struggling to find them and are trying to get others to cross-train. Okay, so this is an area, again, that we're helping with. We are announcing our job site. It's not going to be a job site per se. It's going to be a skills database for our members to be able to access. We are going to be announcing that over the next month. We've got the technology in place. The problem is finding the right skills in the market. I think I did a tutorial a few weeks ago on the challenges facing TD managers. And the skills in this market are very, very hard to find. There's no question they're hard to find. So what we need to do is we need to cross-train some people. And I know that, I won't mention company names, but I know that a very large defense organization is cross-training trainers to come and be TD experts or write TD as well as part of writing their training material. So yes, it is a problem. Finding people with the right skills is a problem, which is why a lot of people now just outsource the problem to TD problems to people like Alan Webb, DCS, whoever it might be, and just give the problem to somebody else. Then they don't have to worry about those skills. But that it does introduce other challenges. Why do you deliberately talk slowly sometimes? Well, believe it or not, we don't all speak English as a first language, and years of supporting customers all around the world where English is a second, sometimes third or fourth language, you have to talk slowly and deliberately. I've spoken a little bit quicker today, but if I'm doing a tutorial in general, I will try and talk slower, not because I think everybody in front of me is not able to keep up. It's because I know that a lot of organizations are not speaking English as their first language. So that's why I do that. We loved your coffee, cheesecake and business rules video. Can we get a copy? It's on our website. Create an account. You can go and have a look at it. I don't think we posted it to YouTube. I'm going to have to go and check that. But the coffee, cheesecake and business rules, we've expanded on the video in the magazine. And you can create an account and watch that on our website right now. Yes, we had lots of great feedback on that, and the title did capture the imagination of a lot of people. And so yes, you can go and create an account. If you want to get a copy of the video, then contact us at Member Services, and Lewis will take a look at that for you. We did receive a wonderful email in from Tata Consulting, and congratulating us on our thought leadership in this area in terms of, we did an article on obsolescence. And again, I think it's in here, and I'm just flicking through. Yeah, it's in this one. So we did something on obsolescence, technology obsolescence, and we received a tremendous amount of feedback. But that feedback that we received was exactly the problem that we're facing. This is the problem that we're trying to articulate to our managers. This is the problem that our IT department don't seem to understand. And this came because a gentleman called Murray Riley at MAN Defence Trucks asked us a question at TDW Live, and he inspired this particular tutorial and some other series of things that we're going to do in this area. And talking of Murray, I'm back in my potting shed. But, it was an article that we enjoyed putting together, the cheesecake one. And it really did articulate in a kind of a way that everybody could understand is, do I need S1000D business rules? And we go on a bit about that. Last question I'm going to do this week is, can we embed your tutorials in our corporate LMS? Okay, now the problem that we have with that is once we give out our videos, I mean, there's nothing stopping you downloading our stuff off YouTube, for example, which I know a few people do. There's nothing stopping you doing that. You can then do whatever you want with it, I guess. But the problem is that we might update something, we might want to change something, or something might become obsolete, ironic, that we might want to remove it. So these kind of tutorials, I guess, are kind of throwawayable. If you're talking about our learning courses, so if we're doing something on our Captivate Prime and you would like to have those on your internal LMS, that's a different discussion, and we could probably enter that discussion with you, because we can package it out as a SCORM package, and we can give it to you, and we can then have a conversation about how we maintain that and keep it going forward. But I know that a lot of organizations are having trouble keeping their teams skilled, which is why we came up with this approach, because classroom-based training is now becoming obsolete. And although we still do those kind of courses if needed. So those are all the kind of questions that we've had, the latest information that's going on from TDW. Get a copy of our magazine. You can just go on our website, fill out the form, and Claire will be in touch. It goes out now. We've actually had to change the contractor for the printing. So that is now a contract that we've just signed with somebody, and they post it all out on our behalf now because we have so many that go out. We're absolutely blown away by all of the positive feedback and the love that we're feeling here at TDW for what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. I hope that you find what we're doing is interesting for you and for your organization. We will we have got some, I don't think you can see it up on the board. No, I rubbed it off. We've got some great innovative ideas for this market that we are going to continue to push on with and push through. And, getting the support from people like our members network and Adobe and all these guys really mean that we can add lots of value to this market, and we can continue to do that, and we will continue to do so all the time that we get this support. Just leaves me to say that TDW Live this year, the conference is way ahead on any numbers that we have had to date, any time that we've run it in the past. We have, as of today, with 5 months to go to the actual event, we're at about 60 delegates, and we are at about 10 exhibitors. We are going to probably have to close registration to exhibitors in the next few weeks. We've got about 2 or 3 tables left. So if your organization was looking at coming to TW Live this year, I would suggest that you book sooner rather than later. Anyway, I'm Michael Ingledew. That's our vlog. Again, I'm sorry that it's late, purely because we were trying to get the magazine looking really, really special this time round, because the feedback we're getting on that is great, and we just want to make sure that it looks the part for you guys. I know that a number of people in their organizations put it on a distribution list, and it goes around lots of different departments. I thank you for that. I love the fact that what we're doing is inspiring lots of what you can do with your tech data. We will continue to do it, and I hope you found it interesting. If you're in Seville, I'll see you in Seville. There'll probably be, what are we in July? Oh, there'll be another couple of vlogs between now and then. But if you're in Seville, I will be there. Remember, you can come and give me your business card, and I'll have Claire send out a magazine to you. See ya.